think I forgot to put lights on. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Oh, exciting. Oh, I see that I have to make this a little bit higher. Hold on one second. Long time no see. I see everybody's gained a little bit of weight in the last month. Oh, fuck that up. Okay, hold on one second. Oh boy, I'm really putting this up now. Very professional operation I got running here. All right. Sorry about that. I don't really like this that much, the way I set this up, but oh, I already lost 11 people. I think I lost 11 people just based on not being able to figure out how to start a YouTube correctly. But thank you for the 29 of you that have stuck around. So, Liso-cel was approved today. I don't really have any formal notes or comments. I just wanted to update everybody because I get a lot of emails and questions about where we are right now in the process. How come there's been no word on funding of the litigation? And I just wanted to, it's been a month, so to tell you what I know. Sadly, what I know is nothing. So the trustee has never responded to an email of mine. I have yet to ever speak to the trustee. I listened in on a phone call with the trustee the first week of January, and I reported back what was said then. To remind everybody, it was said that he would make sure that every shareholder or bag holder of this stupid CVR would be able to participate pro rata in litigation. And he would also make sure there was a market test applied to whatever terms ended up being agreed upon for the funders of litigation, so that minority holders that don't fund litigation don't get adversely harmed by not funding litigation. I also spoke or emailed with a large shareholder that reiterated that to me, that that's the current plan, is to let everybody participate pro rata, and there was nothing behind the scenes that was happening otherwise. And to be clear, I have no reason to believe that's not true today, but it's been a full month. I've emailed the trustee a week ago, and I got no response. I haven't tried calling him. It's my belief that all that's still going forward, and I wouldn't worry too much about. The second issue is the stock being delisted and it disappear from all of your accounts. Again, not a lawyer, and I have no idea how it's going to work from a mechanic standpoint, but you don't have to worry about not being able to participate in a recovery just because it's not in your brokerage account anymore. This is kind of unprecedented. The last time there was a CVR recovery, it was Sanofi and it was still listed. So I have no idea how they do this from a mechanic standpoint. If you're going to have to prove that you owned it in 1231, or if DTC still has a record of who owned it in 1231. As you all know, or many of you know, there have been trades in the gray market through brokers, and virtually every trade has gone off at 50 cents, and nothing's traded, I think, in the last week. But those institutions that are buying and selling at 50 cents obviously have some form of side letter that gives the rights to recovery by the person that purchased it. They are sophisticated institutions. Many of them specialize in litigation, and I can assure you that they know how to make sure that they're protected in the case of a recovery. I'll get back to that in a little bit, I guess. Let's talk about today. So Liso-cel was approved. As we'll find out more about what the holdup was with Liso-cel approval when I see I have my glasses on. Sorry about that if it's glaring. We'll find out what the holdup was with Liso-cel approval when the FDA releases the approval documents, which usually come, I think, a month or two after approval, but maybe sooner than that. They released the whole package of everything regarding the process. I know this because we looked at the other two CAR-Ts very closely to see the people that were involved and to see the time frame from NDA submission to approval. And it's very detailed of what they tell you about behind the scenes. It's obviously good that Liso-cel was approved. I mean, I could have easily made an argument for why a CRL wouldn't have necessarily killed our litigation. It would have been that if the CRL was as a result of ineptitude at the plant at Bothell, then you could argue that the intent of this CVR, which was that the clinical data of Liso-cel and Idacel was good enough to get approved on the first cycle, that happened, but it would have been because of manufacturing deficiencies that Bristol Myers should have been aware of. Anyway, that didn't happen. It got approved. So now you're left with two litigation. One is the major amendment pushed 3 months out, and Bristol Myers never has a major amendment on any of their submissions. The counter to that is they only own Celgene for 5 weeks, but they do assume all Celgene's liabilities when they acquire them. And also they're the ones that submitted the application. The second prong, of course, of the litigation is COVID. And even though there's no force majeure, you can argue, or a lawyer will argue, that the intent again of the 1231 was based on first cycle approval, not based on the arbitrary date of 1231. We'll see what happens. I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good about litigation. It's very unlikely this will ever go to a trial. The biggest problem that we have, and I've said this before, is that the bid ask between what Bristol Myers is willing to pay and what most of these holders want, it could not be wider, is my guess. Again, I have so to reiterate, in the last month, I have not spoken to any major holders, not one, and I haven't spoken to the trustees. So this is not, unfortunately, there's nothing you're going to gain from this video except my personal thoughts. And I believe that if you ask 10 major holders what they wanted right now, if they were going to settle, it would run the gamut from $1, not very many of them is my guess, to $9. And we're not going to get $9 because it's not going to go to trial. You're going to get somewhere between, I would believe, 50 cents and $5 when this is all said and done. But there's no precedence here. It happened one time. There was one other CVR, it was a Sanofi CVR. It's very different than this. I believe that the maximum payout on that Sanofi CVR was something close to $9 too, $6, $7, $8, and they sold it for 80 or 90 cents. The reason why that's not apples to apples at all is that most of that $8 or $9 that they would have gotten was sales-based and not based on approval. And those sales milestones were very, very high and very unlikely to be hit. None of them came close to being hit. So I do think Bristol Myers, when they start negotiating for a settlement, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon, I'll get to that. It's a why in that in a minute, but it has to do with what I'm talking about. They're going to try to use that comp, the Sanofi comp, as the basis for settling for 50 cents or 75 cents or 90 cents. They're going to say, look, this only happened one other time, took 3 years, let's settle here, and let's move on. And large holders, there's no way they're going to agree to that. They're not going to agree to 90 cents or 50 cents or 75 cents. Now, if we go 2-3 years from now and we have discovery and the lawyers for the CVR holders argue that to their clients that the case is poor, that we won't win on the COVID angle and we won't win on the major amendment angle and the intent angle, and then if we go to court, we'll lose, you could see the CVR holders cave 50 cents to $1. By the way, I'm drinking. Cheers. Someone asked why I'm drinking wine out of a Scotch glass last time. It's a great question. This is not a Scotch glass. This is a stemless wine glass. And the reason why is because I break wine glasses. So I started using stemless wine glasses so that my kids don't knock them over and so I don't break them. And it's not a whiskey glass. I have nice whiskey glasses. If Liso-cel was ever approved, you would have saw the nice whiskey glass, but Liso-cel was not approved. So now you see the cheap stemless red wine glass. If we get a settlement for $2 or more, I'll break out the whiskey glass. So where was I? So we still need Idacel approved. It doesn't matter so much if Idacel is approved on time, actually. because it's the exact same argument with Liso-cel, which is that there was an RTF, which was Bristol Myers' fault, and in fact they filed Idacel after owning Celgene for 4 months. So it's much harder to argue that they didn't have any oversight in the Idacel filing, and you need Idacel approved. And if it's delayed, you'd have the same COVID argument as well again. And since none of this is ever going to trial, I don't think it matters if Idacel is approved on time or not. I prefer it to be approved on time so that you can argue you've made 2 of the 3 milestones. Excuse me, and the third one was missed by 30-something days as a result of a pandemic and incompetence from the major amendment perspective. How does this play out? So I don't think you get the bid and ask is so wide, I would guess, between Bristol and CVR holders. I don't think you get a settlement for at least a year. You know, this is, again, such a unique situation that no one can tell you that they know the answer to any of this, but the biggest holders are just as pissed as the rest of us are. And I don't see them caving for $1 or 50 cents or $1.50 anytime soon. The reason why people are paying 50 cents for the CVR is I do think there is a very high likelihood of a settlement at some point. So if you're doing expected value of how much money that's worth today, and your base case, or excuse me, your not base case, if your low case is a 50 cent recovery or a 75 cent recovery, though it's 2 to 3 years from now, maybe the expected value of that today is worth 30 or 35 cents, and then your upside case is $5, then you could see a pretty attractive investment at 50 cents right now. And that is why I think it's heavily bid at 50 cents. Well, it was heavily bid at 50 cents before Lysosel was approved. I don't think you're going to see it go up much as a result of Lysosel being approved, because I think that was expected. After Idacel was approved, maybe you could see it go to $1 in the gray market, where you have your downside being 50 cents, 75 cents in a settlement 2 to 3 years from now, and your upside being $2 to $4, you know, a year from now, and maybe $5 2 or 3 years from now, if it goes that long. So, oh my God, I'm gonna have to unfortunately mute Kid Dynamite 4. Way too many texts, Kid Dynamite 4. I'll read them all first though. Oh my God. Why did I should have muted you at the beginning. If you're blocked on my Twitter account, why do you think I want to read your comments on my YouTube account? All right, let's listen to comments. You have the internet connection of a poor person. Thank you. Which classic Pacino clip would be better for me to recreate in litigation? It's night, Matt is drinking. I realize Gaforio is supposed to sound confident, but what is here finally a real fucking question. I realize Gaforio is supposed to sound confident, but what does the increase in buyback debt repurchase mean for what BMY lawyers are telling management? That's a great question. They clearly don't think they're going to be paying anything out anytime soon. I cringed when I saw the $4 billion tender for the debt, and the share repurchase is just a couple billion more. And this company generates like $10 billion or $12 billion a year in free cash flow. So that $2 billion increase in buyback is over the next year, and it's completely irrelevant. If there is a settlement, it'll be 1 to 3 billion, you know, kind of range, 1 to 4 billion. And this is a rounding error for Bristol Myers. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I do think that the odds of a settlement anytime sooner is extraordinarily low, like I said, because I think there's too many people. There's too many people involved, and I don't think Bristol Myers thinks that they need to rush to settle anything. They probably think if they wait 3 years, they can get everyone down to 75 cents. And I think that Bristol Myers thinks that they were kosher the whole time, which, you know, I argued back in December and November that I think they were too. I don't think Bristol Myers purposely delayed approval of this drug. I don't think that that will make any difference in this litigation. I think that you have to make the dual prong argument that they've never had a major amendment before, and that COVID impaired the intent of DVR. I mean, Kid Dynamite 4 is the only person that's even commenting So if I do mute him, which I'm very tempted to do, then no one else will comment. I agree that quality is not very good. I don't really know why that is. I'm using my Logitech webcam and it looks a little blurry, but maybe it needs to be like polished. Let's try this. How's that? Oh, I see. It's like going in and out. Look, I don't really know what I'm doing, guys. I mean, if I was that GameStop dude, Kitty Roar Kitty, he has like a whole microphone setup and professional setup. He gets 50,000 views. I mean, what am I doing here? Did you say it is trading somewhere now on a private market OTC or somewhere? Yeah, Kevin. So institutions are trading this in the gray market. There's no quote. There's no way for you to trade it yourself. But brokers will quote a two-sided market where you could put up millions of shares if you wanted to. And the current price that it's trading at is 50 cents. So, unfortunately, it doesn't mean anything for you. But if you really wanted to market somewhere in your net worth, you can market at 50 cents because that's where it's liquidly trading. I have it marked at 0. Do you think there will be a second squeeze at GameStop? Kevin, that's funny you asked that. So about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I was going to I haven't done a YouTube video in about a month. And I like these for the most part, though I don't know. I'm conflicted on it. And I was going to do a YouTube video on GameStop while it was squeezing. And my friends told me I was batshit crazy to do that. I'd get death threats and all sorts of stuff. And they were absolutely right. So I didn't do it. And I have so many things to say about GameStop. I don't even know where to begin. And the funny thing is, I wasn't even going to talk about being shorted. I was never shorted. I was short vol on it, but mostly just massively short puts on it, but really far out of the money puts. But the most interesting thing to me about GameStop that I guess has been talked about a lot at this point is the main cause of the short squeeze there. The main cause of the rally there, I believe, was not a short squeeze, but was a gamma squeeze and a delta hedging squeeze based on the massive amount of call options that traded. And this has now been talked about a lot already. But to put it shortly, if you have 50 million shares outstanding of something and you have the ability to buy, I'm just making these numbers up now, 500 million underlying shares and call options of something. So basically, you can buy an unlimited amount of call options, no matter how many shares outstanding there are of a company. That requires the market makers to hedge those call options and buy more stock in theory than exists outstanding. And that is exactly what happened with GameStop. It wasn't a short squeeze. I'm pretty sure overall most of the short interest has remained pretty steady. I think it's come down a little bit, but even at the peak, the stock was available for borrow. A lot of brokers wouldn't let you borrow it, but it was still available for borrow, and the rate never got that high. And every time the stock would go up a lot, the options exchanges listed new weekly strikes at prices much higher than where it was trading. And then the next day, you would see tens of thousands of contracts being opened at that strike, the highest strike, by the Robinhood crowd and probably also hedge funds that were creating this. It wasn't necessarily a gamma hedge squeeze, but a delta hedge squeeze. So I'll explain really briefly what those things are. So a delta hedge squeeze is when a market maker sells an option to somebody, they have to buy shares, and depending on what the strike is of the option. So to be very simplistic, if a stock's trading at $50 and I sell you a $50 call option, I buy a half a share usually for every one option or one underlying share of option I sell. If I sell a $100 call option and the stock's trading at 50, I buy less than a half a share. I buy 0.2 shares or 0.3 shares or whatever it is. My only point is when you sell tens or hundreds of thousands of call options way out of the money, at the money, whatever, the demand for underlying stock is so great that you're going to make the stock go up huge. And that is the underlying fault here. I think that if if you created new rules where you could only write a certain number of options based on the amount of shares outstanding, and it's the same thing on the short side, right? You could buy puts, and you could buy so many puts that it's way more than the number of shares outstanding that you could borrow. So it works both ways, and that is the cause of the GameStop move. Do I think it will squeeze again? I definitely don't think that anybody should be involved in betting one way or the other. I was very surprised it went up today. You know, the truly most bizarre thing about the GameStop and the AMC move is that I would have told you if this would have happened with a Tesla, some sort of electric car company, something there's a story involved. So if you have a story involved, then you could say it's worth $100,000 a share, $50,000 a share, $10,000 a share. At least you have a story there, some bullshit, green sky scenario. But AMC and GameStop are two companies I've been involved on in the past, sadly, because I like to buy shit companies. And those two companies obviously have had years of pain from a fundamental perspective. And I owned GameStop in early 2020. I own AMC in 2018. And you can't make an argument for either of them. It's definitely not AMC. AMC is obviously a dinosaur. But with GameStop, it would take years of transitioning the business model to where you have any kind of blue sky scenario where it's worth billions and billions of dollars. So that to me is the real story here, is that they took these two dodgy old school retailers and created story stocks out of them. Probably the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my career, even more so than the Volkswagen squeeze and the dot-com bubble. Because the dot-com bubble, people thought those stocks could grow into that valuation. I mean, yeah, it traded at 500 times sales, but business to business, bro, it was going to work. And some people are trying to understand about why GameStop hasn't issued stock yet. I mean, this is the most over-asked question ever. Clearly, there's a reason why GameStop has not issued stock yet. Either the general counsel told them they can't for a variety of reasons. It could be because it was quarter end, which ended on Friday, and they have to get their preliminary numbers out, or the general counsel was worried about being sued for taking advantage of this. I know insiders have not sold any stock either above $30 a share. So they were clearly blacked out. So maybe the general counsel said that the company blacked out too, and they decided to do a pause. The other option, which is less likely, is that an underwriter refused to take the risk. There's definitely an underwriter that would take the risk. There's a lot of really shoddy investment banks out there. So nobody knows why GameStop has done a raise yet. If I would think at the end of this, we will see a raise, even if it's at $35 or $40 or $45 a share. It's free money for a company that obviously needs the cash right now. And AMC also has not done a secondary raise. When I say a secondary, I mean an additional raise from the raise they did when they did the ATM at $5. AMC did a genius thing, really it was Silver Lake, by converting their stock at $13 and blowing it all out. That was the equivalent of a raise. They basically raised $600 million at $13 and retired the debt associated with it. So AMC has raised $1.5 billion or so at prices north of $3, and GameStop has only raised probably the $100 million of their ATM. We'll find out why. But I would not be playing for a second squeeze. I miss you, admit it, you miss me. I don't know, Kid Dynamite, maybe 3 months from now. I do hope you're well, though. Given what Yascarta sales are, is BMY blowing smoke, saying their CAR Ts can do $2 to $4 billion at peak? Yeah, Christopher, that's a great question. I don't know if anyone noticed, but Zeposia, the first drug that was approved, they announced the sales last quarter, and it did a whole 10 million in sales. And I've been saying for a long time, I think on this YouTube, that all three of these drugs are not worth $7 billion in NPV. They massively overpaid for that portion of Celgene, and clearly associating the CVR. In fact, Celgene also made the mistake by even allowing the CVR to be tied to these three drugs at $7 billion when these three drugs are worth nowhere near $7 billion. So no, they will not do $2 to $4 billion of sales here. This is a better CAR T than the other two. and they will hopefully get approval in earlier lines at some point. But you're going to be looking at a few $100 million a year in peak sales, maybe a couple of years from now or 3 years from now. I wouldn't expect anything along the lines of $2 to $4 billion in sales. But that's completely irrelevant for the litigation. There won't even be 5 minutes of discussion about whether or not these drugs were commercially successful or not, because it's just irrelevant. It was all based on approval by a certain date, and it's on Bristol Myers to do their due diligence of whether it was worth $7 billion or not when they agreed to that. Why can't I follow you on Twitter? If you have an account that's been around for many years and other people that follow me on Twitter, I'm more than happy to let people on. I just don't let any new accounts or anybody that appears, could be a second account, or if your name is Kid Dynamite Blog. Those are the people that aren't allowed to follow me on Twitter, on Tweeter. I sold quite a few March 14 puts in GMA at 180. That's a good trade. I can't make any investment advice, though I guess I do it all the time here, but obviously nothing's investment advice. I'm also short a lot of very out of the money puts on GameStop and on AMC. I do think that that's one way to play it. The way you make money on that, guaranteed basically, that's not the right word. I wouldn't say guaranteed. I forget that I'm like on a public YouTube channel now, is that if they do an offering, if they do a secondary offering and they raise a few $100 million, the odds GameStop goes back to $10 or $15 is pretty low by March or April. Even if they don't do another secondary offering, I think the odds it goes to $10 or $15 is pretty low. So that's been my favorite way to play this. I think that trade is still kind of there, but you have to remember a lot of these brokers are charging huge margin to sell naked puts. And selling naked puts means you own the stock at that strike. So if you don't want to wake up one day and be long GameStop at 10 or 12 or $15, then you shouldn't sell put at 10 or 12 or $15. That's your risk there. It's not going to go bankrupt in the next 2 or 3 months. They have enough cash and enough liquidity where that's off the table for, I would think, for at least a year, if not longer. David Taggart, we really can't underestimate the marginal buyer of this thing. Yeah, I don't think GameStop's necessarily over. The part that's weird about GameStop and AMC is it's trading billions and billions and billions of dollars a day, and it's the marginal buyer, not to be rude in something, is someone that's unsophisticated. So with AMC, I think they think that it could go to $400 like a GameStop when there's 400 million shares outstanding at AMC. And there was only, I think, 50 million shares outstanding at GameStop. So in order to get that kind of move with something with that many shares outstanding and trading that many shares a day, well, we see what happened. AMC stalled, right? And it's completely stalled. And you also know that the AMC management can't wait to raise more money. They have a huge amount of debt. GameStop does not. So the AMC management is trying to raise as much money as they can at these price levels, and you should expect to see more secondaries there. But I'm also short, very out of the money puts in AMC. Nothing than 250 strike. I have a very small amount of $3 puts. I'm short. With AMC, I've only gone out to March because I don't like the business at all. I don't like movie theaters. On the long-term prospects there, and I think they'll be fine through March. But most of this trade I think is kind of done. Do you think GameStop shorts covered, or do they try to manipulate their short flow data produced by S3? No, Kevin. I think that what happens in a situation like this is, I think most of the GameStop short interest was probably there throughout most of this squeeze. Maybe some of it was covered, but you just had it transferred to different people. So when Melvin or whatever got squeezed out, a bunch of new funds took their place at very small levels. So maybe they shorted 25 basis point positions or 50 basis point positions or what have you. So I think that there's definitely plenty of shorts still in GameStop. It's the fundamental analysis says that it's not worth $10 billion. So I think that people are willing to make small short positions in. I'm not short it because I don't want to deal with the overnight risk. The way I've played it, like I said, is through the short puts, which is basically being long it. So that's how I'm doing it. Laurent, fantastic work you did in the CVR, Matt. I mean, I really appreciate it, but it didn't work, didn't work. So it's very bittersweet. This is a bittersweet day for me. I had a huge position in this. I've had a really good January and February, so that's good. But this drug getting approved in Idacel, which I think will eventually get approved, and for us to miss it by 5 weeks, I'm happy it's 5 weeks and not 5 days. If it was the first week of January, I really would just be over the moon dejected. I don't think it matters if it's the first 5 days of January versus the first 5 days of February. If it does go to trial, a judge is going to decide that 5 days in January is different than 5 days in February, when the major amendment was 3 full months. So that part doesn't bother me, but at least psychologically it helps a little bit that it didn't happen right on the 1 a.m. hour after New Year's. But thank you. Best part of GME shelf was the existing ATM was in dollars, not shares, which completely effed them when the stock went to 450. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny too. I think they probably finished that shelf out though well before it even went to 50. They probably already used the whole 100 million up. I'm very confused why they haven't put another shelf out. Obviously, everybody is. Laurent, maybe time to move on and use your brilliant and fun. Wow, is Laurent? Are you my mom? Is my mom on here under the Laurent name? Maybe it's time to move on. Use your brilliant and funny mind and detective diligence skills to non-so-binary profiles in biotech biopharma. Maybe look at ATHX, KPTI, and MEIP, all 5 times. So I stopped investing in biotech a few years ago after Sarepta, which was the cult stock of all cult stocks, and the CVR sucked me back in. But I don't do biotech anymore. I like this. I have 3 kids. I like to sleep at night, and this CVR destroyed like my entire 2020 on top of COVID and my newborn kids. And I have no interest in going to sleep at night and wondering if I'm going to wake up to a CRL or a clinical trial halt or what the phase 3 data is going to be. Or I just don't need the stress in my life. I take enough stress on my other positions that aren't biotech based. You're not going to see me get back into biotech anytime soon. I got my fill with the CVR, and never say never. If something's really appealing, then maybe I would do it, but I don't even look at it. I refuse to even look at it. I get pitched biotech ideas all the time. I kill it right off the bat. Whole account short GME, Jan 2 puts 25 cents discussed, 12.5% return, go to the beach. That, Josh, as you know, only works if they do a raise. If GME doesn't do a raise, it could be below $2 a year from now. It's very unlikely, but I mean, it could happen. I'd much rather be short GME $2 Jan puts at 25 cents for that 12.5% gross return than I would be AMC puts. Much, much, much rather. I did short some Jan 1 puts at 19 cents just on Monday. I'll repeat that. I got off January 1 GME puts, shorted them at 19 cents on Monday. So a 19% gross return at $1 full margin, at them charging me a full margin on the whole dollar notional. And yeah, that was a great trade. It's trading at like 11 cents, 12 cents now. And I still have them on. There was a small amount of options. David, this comment was just to the people who bought this morning once RH wanted them to buy as much as they wanted. Yeah, I know. It's a little sad to me. What do you think the discontinuation of Orvacell means for Idacel? Yeah, Jeff. I mean, look, I think they think Idacel is going to be approved. In fact, why would Bluebird do a spinoff of its oncology assets if the only asset in their oncology business is Idacel? They have a bunch of early pipeline stuff, but really all they have is Idacel that's anytime being commercially active, and you wouldn't spin off that business if Idacel is going to get an RTF. Excuse me, I'm sorry, and Idacel has a major unmet need. So I think it's very likely Idacel will be approved. I've always been cautious on the manufacturing side there because Bluebird has had some real shoddy stuff happen with the FDA and with batches with their other clinical trials. And can't dismiss them being a smaller biotech, but Idacel should be approved pretty easily. And that's why I own the CVR. because both these drugs were very approvable, and it's killing me. It's absolutely killing me that the sweat and blood and tears we poured into this, and we're gonna have to wait for litigation to get paid. It's killing me. And don't get me started in the shade that I need to throw on all the haters that said that this was going to get a CRL, that Lysosel was going to CRL based on the 483s at Lonza and the 483s at Bothell, all the experts. I mean, I know nothing about biotech, nothing about 483s. All I know is when we spoke to experts, and they told us over and over and over again that the 483s wouldn't be an issue based on previous CAR-Ts, and they weren't. And I was right. We were right. So, you know, it's painful. A Lonza spokesperson said they were ready for inspection in April, if I recall. If that was the case, would COVID be BMY's primary defense? So, Christopher, BMY's primary defense is that there's no force majeure, and COVID was force majeure, an act of God, or an act of Wuhan, and that's their defense. The date 12/31 had nothing to do with intent. It had just an actual date in the contract, and they didn't get it approved by that date in the contract, and that's it. I mean, the equivalent would be is if I told you you had to build my house by 12/31, and that was in the contract, and you or the people. I'll give a better example. You could not have the construction workers work at my house based on the San Diego laws of COVID. Let's say San Diego said construction had to be shut down based on too many people gathering in the same place, and my construction worker could not complete the project as a result of COVID, but there was no force majeure clause. Do you think a court would find him guilty of missing the 12/31 date? I don't think a court would. I think a court would give him a pass and say that the local laws made it impossible for him to get this approved by 12/31. And I think that is what a court would find here, and why Bristol Myers will settle this at some point. Because any judge that looks at this from an intent perspective will say that these 3 drugs were approved based on the intent behind the CVR. And I think Bristol Myers knows this, but I think time's on their side, and they'll be in no rush to settle. What issue did you run in with SRPT? Oh boy. I was involved with SRPT from 2013 to 2016, and I was a de facto cult leader. And what issue did I not run into with SRPT? It went up and down 100% every 5 months. It was the most dramatic biotech there ever was back then. Controversial, from people that thought it should be approved to people that didn't think it should be approved. Just pull up a chart from SRPT from August of 2000 and actually, sorry, August 2011. 2011? I can't even remember anymore. I can't even remember when the phase 2 off from SRPT. I think it was 2013. But I might be wrong. It might have been 2011, 2012. I don't even know. A lot of years of SRPT. Asking for you're not American, Laurent. Shane, you could Biotech, a loss for the biotech sphere. Groupon was an excellent idea. Thanks for that pitch too. I'm still long Groupon. I still have a huge position in it. I'm very worried about the quarter. I think I talked about it last time, because the whole country shut down, the whole world shut down, and you have sell side estimates are too high for Q4 and Q1. I don't own it for the quarter or for beating the sell side estimates, but I'm well prepared for it to go back into the high 20s if something goes wrong with this quarter. And I still think very strongly about Groupon. There were 2 new hires recently. One of them was a chief marketing officer, and another one was a chief revenue officer. And they both started in January, and you can find their bios on the website. And one of them was actually a former Groupon employee that left a year earlier. And I don't think they would have rejoined the company if it was, going up in flames. I think that they like the new strategy, and I think the new strategy is excellent. And I'm very excited about the next 18 months, 12 months of Groupon. And implied and realized vol Groupon make it a great position to trade around. Selling calls on spikes close to 40 and puts around 30 works wonders. I completely agree, Laurent. I think the realized and implied vol is way too high. I don't understand why it trades like, it trades like it's a dot-com bubble stock or a biotech. It moves so much. I don't get it. There's no debt. There's no net debt. Excuse me. It's break-even cash flow, and it's going to start making a lot of cash. It'll start gushing a lot of cash flow in the next 12 months. And there's no reason why the vol is so high, implied or realized. So I also agree with that strategy. I was SRPT at that time range, made a killing, bought right after the AdCom as well. I mean, I could talk about SRPT for hours, but I don't want to. I'm happy you made money. I made money on it, but there's easier ways to make a buck. There's easier ways to make a buck than the CVR too, by the way. Fate Therapeutics, you'll find the fasting interesting. Future of Oncology. I am not getting involved in another biotech. Thank you, though. Kathy Wood ARC funds are piling in money after ASH this weekend. I don't want to be involved in anything that Kathy Wood ARC funds are involved in. So anyway, in conclusion, I've kept most of you guys around. Good talking to everybody. I think that the litigation will move forward. As soon as I know anything regarding funding, I will do a YouTube. I will make sure that the trustee and the large holders honor their commitment to make sure that all holders can participate in litigation. And if not, I promise you, I will go forward and make sure that happens. So that there is no risk in that falling by the wayside. I believe strongly that that's the honorable thing to do and the legal thing to do. And I have no reason to believe it won't happen. I just wouldn't expect much anytime soon. The next step is for Idacel to be approved. Let's hope it gets approved on time, and then we'll get some information flow on the CVR. I'm happy it was deleted from my account. You know, it was a huge position, as you all know, huge. It was such a big position actually that even now, after I've recovered most of my losses in the last 5 or 6 weeks, that if today it was trading and it was trading at $4.50 a share today, my account would double. And that's after my account has already recovered to most of what it's lost from the CVR in December, which is nuts. So I hope one day I get a nice big windfall from the litigation, but I have mentally, marked it at 0, and we'll see what happens with litigation. Have you crushed your trading SPACs? I don't know, because you blocked me. Well, it's too bad that you don't know why I've crushed it, because only respectful, kind followers get to know my live trades. So maybe one day you'll be back in my good graces, but until then, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not gonna give any tickers on here that I own outside of Groupon and Dell, because I don't want to have to update them in the future. But no, I have not been involved in SPACs at all. That's not my thing, dude. I don't trade sketch companies, except for the CVR. We can't trade BMYRT yet, right? My WSP peeps want in. You'll never be able to trade BMYRT. It's going to be delisted forever. So it'll never be relisted again. So, and by the way, Wall Street Bets, Robinhood never allowed purchasing in BMYRT. So for everybody that thinks it might be like $5 right now, if Wall Street Bets could buy it, it wouldn't be $5 because they can't buy it. Approve, heating up 55 on Twitter, been on since 2015. I'll check you out, heating up. Hold on. Just tweet at me. If you guys want me to you follow me, heating up 55. Just send me an @tweet, okay? To given to tweet. I assume you know what my Twitter account is. May I respectfully and kindly say that your beard is always masterly trimmed, and may I follow you on Twitter? You guys are something else, man. Just tweet at me and I'll look at your account. Heating up 55 is my third account. No, I will make sure it's not. That's exactly. I know how to run algorithm checks. I'd let you follow me on OnlyFans at $100 a month if you're interested in that. I'll make an OnlyFans account just for you. And I'll post all my trades topless. Oh gosh, what's up? What else up, guys? Yeah, why does it keep moving? I don't know. I'm not good at this YouTube stuff. I don't know why I go in and out. I wasn't really meant to be a YouTube star, I guess. 34 people, not 34,000. That's okay. 34 people is like a nice sized classroom. Anything else, everybody? I got nowhere to go. Any questions? Regarding Dell, I assume that we'll probably see the Dell spin news in the next 3 months. And I still remain really constructive on Dell and VMware. You can go back and look at my last video on that if you didn't watch it. I'm sure all 35 of you watched it. I wasn't meant to be a YouTube star with a face and voice like that. You're kidding. Oh my God, I'm such a fucking idiot. I'm much better looking than you, dude. As are my kids. Anything else? Thanks for doing these YouTube things. Since I can't follow you on Twitter, really appreciate this access. Christopher, if you have a Twitter account, you can follow me on Twitter as long as it's not a new account. But yeah, I hear you, buddy. I'll keep doing these. And when I have really good ideas, I'll put them on here. And I'll keep up with the CVR stuff. I obviously wish the CVR worked out differently for all of us. If you're not going anywhere, any advice? Massively heavy in bio with second kid in the way. I mean, how do I possibly answer that question, Christopher? How old is your first kid? I don't know. I don't own any biotech. You're playing with fire, my friend. I have no idea. That's hilarious, Josh. Did you sell it for cost or did you make a premium? Unfortunately, I just created my Twitter account. Thanks to you. Wanted to follow. Always hate social media. What's your Twitter account, Christopher Craig Bruto? Tell me what your Twitter account is, and I'll let you follow me. It would take some pretty crap for you to be like a Kid Dynamite blog's fourth account and commenting at the same time. I'll let you follow me. Just at me. Assuming it's your real name, just at me. 26-month-old, and you're gonna have a newborn coming. I have a 4-year-old and 2 1-year-olds just turned 1. I wish you the best of luck. Lawrence, yeah. The problem is that I have thousands of pending followers, so I can't find it. You have to just tweet at me. Anybody that wants me to request to accept their follow, just tweet at me tonight, and if I think the account's fine, I'll accept it. And refollow, resubmit, re-request a follow. That'd be helpful, honestly. The best way to re-request following me, actually, this is really important. Everybody that wants to follow me, block me, unblock me, and then request to follow me. And that way you'll be at the top of the line, I think, for pending follows. Okay, so block me, unblock me, and then re-request to follow. And Josh, you could try to do that, but I'm not accepting your follow. I have a 3.5-month-old. It is awesome. I did not have the same view when my babies were 3.5 months old. I did not find it awesome, but I do like them now that they're older. Especially now they turn 1. It's much more fun. I'm sure, Josh, I'm sure you're enjoying times with your little one. I'm going to take a screenshot of that for Dan, just to show him. He'll appreciate that. He'll probably block you. He doesn't even tweet. He doesn't tweet trades. Anything else? All right. It was nice speaking to you, Josh. Hope you're doing well. Best to you and your family. Seriously, it's good seeing you. I could do this once every month or two or so, speaking to you for an hour with a group. It's about all I could take. I have done all the night feeds and every bath time so far. My wife still says I don't do enough. I have no comment. No comment. Josh was the primary caregiver of his born. Forget about the night feeds. His wife went back to work, and Josh was the nanny. Any Super Bowl bets? I am going to bet the Chiefs. 1 basis point. Yeah. I hate Tom Brady almost as much as I hate Kid Dynamite 4. Not was, still am primary caregiver. I don't know. I think you've done really well in the stock market the last few months, haven't you? I feel like you should be retired again. I'm a stay-at-home dad. My wife says I need to spend less time trading and more time with the kids. I mean, wow. What you need to do, Christopher, is make more money trading, and then she'll be okay with you not spending time with the kids. That's true. You don't really trade. You piggyback like 5 people, and you spend about 10 minutes a day on doing this. I mean, let's be honest. How much time do you spend trading or investing? I would say about 10 minutes a day. And then like 11 hours of whining. I am in the Pan American Silver Corp CVR. The good thing about this one is I have until 2009 to dream about a positive outcome. You don't mean 2009, you mean 2029? That's hilarious. I try to stay away from the CVRs that have those 5 or 10 year outcomes because I just don't want it stuck on my sheets for 5 or 10 years. Not always. That's not true. That's not always. I have one other CVR right now, only one, and it's ACHN, and that's 2024, 2025 is when it expires. I made nearly as much from her job. She told me she doesn't want me to have a job. Between Christopher and P. Gust, I feel like we could turn this into a support group. And Josh also would probably be part of the support group. Children whose wives don't appreciate them, but unfortunately, my wife really appreciates me. I'm not even just saying that. She does not ever complain about me not doing enough help. We have nannies. But my wife is nonstop. We have 3 kids, 2 1-year-old twins and a 4-year-old. And my daughter has been out of school for a year. So nowadays I have to spend much more than 10 minutes a day because everything is FUBAR. Yeah, it's true. P. Gus, you should Google Kinross gold warrants. Everyone owned those back in the day, ended up garbage. I'm literally neglecting my daughter right now for this dog crap chat. I mean, let's be honest. She's much more likely to have a better evolutionary outcome using the screen than having screen time than having dad time. In fact, it would be a great experiment to see if we replace your parenting and with Netflix over the next 5 years, which outcome would produce a more productive member of society. I think the video looks good because if I'm very still and I stare at the camera, then it focuses, it doesn't have to refocus. I think if I do this and my nose goes in there, my huge nose, check out the nose, Josh. I have lobbied hard for Natty. My wife prefers to berate me. I can't run experiments like that. I don't have identical twins. I know you can't run experiments like that. I'm just saying, that's how I would do it. What are your top 2 picks right now? My favorite idea, I've never done a YouTube on. and it's kind of a micro cap, so I don't feel great. I don't feel very comfortable talking about it. If you follow me on Twitter, I tweet about it a lot. It's a small cap oil and gas company. My largest two positions though are Groupon and Dell. I don't expect them to go up, multiples or anything, but I think that they have large margin of safeties and they'll have great returns over the next 12 to 18 months. You know what it is, Josh. You know what my small cap oil and gas company is. It's the same one I owned last year that I lost a ton of money on. No comment. I'm up 150% on it already. Any other questions? Anybody? Bueller? All right. Peace. Good seeing everybody. Hopefully we'll do this again more often than once a month. Take care. Bye.